All right, everyone, welcome back. We're going to go ahead and finish up exact trig values of special angles. And talking about special angles, they're called special because these are the angles that shows up on your unit circle. For example, number two, okay, 225 degrees, that's special because yes, there's also a 226 degrees. It's a little bit more. At 226 degrees, but that's not special. Okay, and if we want to figure out the sine of 226 degrees, we're going to do something else. More importantly, we might have to involve a calculator, right? So we're talking about special, and these are just the numbers that shows up on your unit circle. Okay, today we're going to go ahead and finish this up. Like I said, numbers 21 through 30, and just keep in mind we've already done number 23 and 24 in class. So if you didn't catch that, I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to get it from someone else. Okay. I'm gonna also need a calculator just to kind of help me. All right. So we will need the tangent of 13, negative 13 pi over 6. And we know that negative 13 pi over 6 is made up of 12, negative 12 pi over 6, and then minus one more pi over 6. And that's how you get a total of 12. Negative 12 minus 1 is negative 13. Right? So we will need to be doing the tangent of that. Okay. And in particular, we're going to just focus in on that negative pi over 6. Right. So tangent of negative 13 pi over 6 is equivalent to tangent of negative 12 pi over 6 minus 1 more pi over 6. And again, that's equivalent to just writing down tangent of negative pi over 6. Okay. And if you look at unit circle, pi over 6 is the very, very first angle. Right? It's the very first special angle. That's pi over 6. Okay. And if we want negative pi over 6, then that means that we're just going to have to go down below. So it's going to be this one right here. It's the very, very last one. Okay. So that's going to be negative pi over 6. Okay. And if that's the case, right, you can use it as negative pi over 6. Or if you look at your unit circle, that's equivalent to 11 pi over 6. Okay. So I'm going to say tangent of negative pi over 6. That's the same as tangent of 11 pi over 6. Okay. If you look at the spot on the unit circle, this spot right here, right, on the unit circle, okay, that spot is 11 pi over 6. Okay. Or you can call it negative pi over 6 because you're going down one, um, one, one block, if so to speak. Okay, that right there, that coordinate, if you look in unit circle, that coordinate is going to be radical 3 over 2 and negative 1 half. And since we're talking about tangent, we're going to go ahead and do the sine, which is negative 1 half, divided by the cosine, which is radical 3 over 2. Okay, I'm going to erase some of this. Okay, but to get the rest of it, all you got to do is finish off the math here. Multiply by 2, right? Top and bottom. Cancel, cancel. And we end up with negative 1 over radical 3. Can't do that, so we got to rationalize it. So radical 3 on the bottom and radical 3 on top. And we get an answer of negative 1. I'm not going to write the 1 down, but 1 radical 3 over radical 9, which is just going to be 3. Okay, so this answer on number 21 is equal to just negative radical 3 over 3. Okay, that's number 21. Okay, number 22. And if at any time you need to pause it, you need to pause it because I will go on and continuously erase and modify my answers or change my look. Okay. 22. Cosine of 630. Okay, 630. So we got to figure out how many of those is it, right? So if I'm going backwards, it's going to be negative 360, right? And then plus another negative 360, and that's already 720. So that's too much. If I went backward 2 whole rounds, right? So I'm gonna start over. So maybe you can do this. Maybe you can do you can do 630, and then you can figure out how many of those 360s are there. So 630 minus 360, and that gets you 720. Okay. So to get this right here, okay, in order to get this, I would have to, in order to get the negative 630, I would have to go negative 360. That's backwards one round. And then you're going to add another negative 270. And that would get you negative 630, right? So if I'm going to rewrite that, it's going to look something like cosine of negative 360, okay, plus, and then I'm a minus, so I'm just writing minus a 270 degrees, okay? And again, I'm just only after, because that first negative 360, that just means that I'm going around a full circle, and I'm going to reset myself. So I don't need to worry about that. Okay, I just need to worry about the second, or the remaining part, which is the negative 270. Okay, and if you think about a unit circle again, unit circle looks like this, right? Negative 270 is if we started here and we go backwards right there. That's negative 270. Okay, which is really 90 degrees. Interesting enough, right? So you can write it as cosine of negative 270 degrees, or you can write it as cosine of 90 degrees. And we know cosine of 90 degrees is 0 if you look on your unit circle. Okay, look at the coordinate up on top. This coordinate is going to be 0, comma 1. So the cosine we know is going to be the x value, which is 0. Okay, again, if you need to stop anytime, pause it and think about it, or review, rewind. Okay, that's 21 and 22. Okay, so answer is 0. 25. Actually, I'm going to erase some stuff just to make room. So again, 23, 24, we did in class already. 25. Cosecant of negative 5 pi over 6. Right? And if you look around your unit circle, you do see a 5 pi over 6. Right? Your unit circle, right? 5 pi over 6 is about right there. Okay, that is about 5 pi over 6. Okay, which is the last point before the 100 or the pi or the 180. So that's 5 pi over 6. So it's almost a flat straight line, but it's not. It's the first one before. So if we want cosecant of negative 5 pi over 6, guess what? It's going to be the other way around. Okay, and it's going to be almost before the last one. So it's going to be that one right there. All right, so that's negative 5 pi over 6. And if you look closely, you compare it to your unit circle, it's actually going to be at 210 degrees, or 7 pi over 6. Okay, so we can say cosecant of negative 5 pi over 6 is the same as cosecant of 7 pi over 6. Okay, and this one is not another circle. It's just going backwards. That's all. Okay, and at 7 pi over 6, you look at the coordinate. Okay, it's going to be negative radical 3 over 2, comma negative 1/2. And since we're looking for cosecant is going to be the flip of the sign, and the sign is 1/2. So the flip of that is going to be negative 2. Okay, you can put negative 2 over 1, but really it's just negative 2. Oops. Okay. 26. Okay, cosine of 17 pi over 3. And I know this one's too big already, right? So I'm going to have to figure out a couple things. So cosine, so negative 17 pi over 3, I have to figure out, okay, so what pi divided by 3 makes 2 pi, right? So what divided by 3 makes 2, right? So this has to be 6. So it'd be a negative 6 pi over negative 6 pi over 3. Okay, and that's only 6 pi over 3, so I need to add another negative 6 pi over 3. Okay, and if you, in this part right here, if you don't like to put plus minus, you can just put a minus like how I did one of the previous problems. Okay, because eventually it's just going to be a minus. So that makes another negative 6, and makes another negative 2 pi. So that's already 12, and I need 17, so I need to add another negative 5 pi over 3. Okay, so basically all we're after is just that negative 5 pi over 3. Okay, so cosine of negative 17 pi over 3 is the same as cosine of negative 5 pi over 3. Okay, if you look at 5 pi over 3 on your unit circle, you do see that it's about 300 degrees. Okay, but we're doing negative 5 pi over 3. Right, so again, unit circle, start here, right, in there. So if we're doing 5 pi over 3, you would have to go this much. But since we're doing negative, we're going to have to go and do this much. And then one more, right? Because that was one block over. So it would have to be this one up here. So negative 5 pi over 3 is sitting right here. Okay. But if you look where it matches on your unit circle, that's the same as pi over 3. Okay, they're the same thing. This spot is the same as pi over 3. Okay, actually, it should be like this. This is pi over 3. Okay, so they both end up at the same spot, the same terminal. Remember, we talked about coterminal a while ago? And at that spot, this is going to be 1/2 and radical 3 over 2. And since we're looking for cosine is just talking about the x value. So that answer comes out to be 1/2. Okay. Again, if you need to pause it or rewind it anytime. Okay. 27. 29 pi over 6, right? So again, got to figure out what over 6, right? And we've done this a couple times, so I'm actually pretty good at it, and you should too. But this should be 12, right? So 12 pi over 6 makes 2 pi, right? And I need 29, so I got to add another 12 pi over 6. That's another 2 pi. Okay, so that's 24, and I don't think I can add another 12, so I'm done with adding another 5. Okay, so it's actually 2 pi plus 2 pi plus 5 pi over 6. Okay, and really we're just after this 5 pi over 6. Okay, so sine of 29 pi over 6 is the same as sine of 12 pi over 6 plus 12 pi over 6 plus 5 pi over 6. Or you can just say this is the same as, sine of 5 pi over 6. And 5 pi over 6 is on the unit circle, and that comes out to be negative radical 3 over 2 and 1/2. And since we're talking about the sine, we want the y value, which is 1/2. 28. 945. So that one I'm going to go ahead and use a calculator because I have one, right? So 945. Okay. So I'm going to work this out. 945, and I'm going to find out how many 360 degrees are there. So minus 1. Nope, there's more. So minus another one. Minus 2. Okay, and that's about it. So secant of 945 is the same as secant of 360 degrees plus 360 degrees plus, and I think that was 225. I didn't, yep, 225 degrees. Okay, and again, we're only after that last part because that 360 resets. Okay, so secant of 945 is the same as secant 360 plus secant plus 360 plus 225, or you can just call it secant of 225 degrees. And 225 degrees, the secant is based off of the cosine, and at 225 degrees, okay, the cosine is, let me think, it's going to be, the cosine is going to be negative radical 2 over 2. So the secant is going to be the reciprocal of that. So it's going to be negative 2 over radical 2. Okay, if you look at 225 degrees, and the cosine, which is the first number, which is going to be negative radical 2 over 2. But since I want the secant and not the cosine, I got to flip that around, reciprocal that. That's going to be negative 2 over radical 2. That's technically your answer, but this is not proper. So we got to multiply this by radical 2 and radical 2. And this would get us negative 2 radical 2 over radical 4, which happens to be 2. And you notice that these two on the outside you can cancel, and you will end up with just a answer of negative radical 2. That's your answer for 28. Okay, and 1/2 is your answer for 27. Okay, go ahead and pause it if you need to. I'm going to delete it right now. Okay, 29, 11 pi over 2. Okay, so that's going backwards, and it's okay. You can kind of figure that out. Okay, so cosine negative, and so I need to figure out, okay, so what over 2, right? So what divided by 2 makes 2 pi or negative 2 pi in either case, right? So it'll be 4, right? So it'll be 4 pi. And then so I need to do another 4 pi, so I'm going to add another negative 4 pi over 2, so that makes another 2 pi. Okay, so that's 2 rounds backwards already. Negative 4 pi and negative 4 pi is 8 pi. That's not enough, so I got to do a little bit more, so I'm going to add another negative 3 pi. And that's not a full circle, but you know what? That wraps it up. Okay, and again, I'm only after this last part because that tells me where I'm currently at, which is negative 3 pi over 2. Oops. Okay. So I'm just after cosine of negative 3 pi over 2. Okay, and 3 pi over 2 is right at the bottom, right? If you're looking at your unit circle, 3 pi over 2 is down at the bottom here. Okay, but since we want negative 3 pi over 2, got to backtrack now. We want it up here. So that's going to be negative 3 pi over 2. And that's the same as 90 degrees. Okay, you can do 90 degrees or you could do this. It doesn't matter which one you do it, just as long as you know this spot is what you're looking for. Okay, so you can say cosine of negative 3 pi over 2, or you can just say cosine of 90, or pi over 2. Okay, or even put 90 degrees, it's fine. Right, but either way, you got to know that it's this spot we're looking at, and since we're looking for cosine, we want the 0. So the answer is 0. Last one, sine of negative pi over 2. Yeah, this one's easy. Right? So negative pi over 2 just means that I got to start here, and I'm going to go ahead and work my way backwards a whole round. So I'm back to where I started, okay, which is right here. And right there is going to be 1, 0. The sine is going to be the y value, so that answer right there is equal to 0. All right, guys, that's a wrap. Any questions, ask me about it, but the video should explain most of it.